Hello my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. In this week painting tutorial, I'm painting something for Patreon. Tom wanted me to try my hand at painting a lighthouse with lots and lots of waves, violent waves splashing against the back of the lighthouse and coming around. Huge waves in a storm. I told him I'd paint something like that for him. I have a canvas ready here behind me, 16 by 12, primed once, and I gave it a rub of light, fine sandpaper, okay, just to smooth off the surface. So that's what we're going to paint this week. Next week, I'll be doing a fantastic little sunset for Patreons on my Patreon channel. A kind of a yellowy, warm yellow sunset, misty kind of a feeling with two little, I think they're ducks or something, just swimming along the water, creating lovely ripples behind them. It's going to be on my Patreon page next week, and I will do something similar for YouTube after that. So please do pop over and check them out. Fantastic videos over there. Meanwhile, let's crack on and have a bit of fun with this. Lots of texture, lots of maybe work with the knife and all that kind of thing with the waves splashing up into the air. So this could be a fun one, I hope. Fingers crossed. So yeah, grab your stuff if you want to follow me along, and let's go and have a bit of fun. Okay, here we go. I'll tell you what colours I have on my palette. Titanium white, Naples yellow, magenta, phaylo blue, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, lamp black and burnt umber. Nice selection of colours. Lots of greys, look at that. Lots of greys with that splash of kind of brown and red in the middle just to set the painting off. Nice little mauves and pinks going on as well. So this will be a bit of fun. Let's see if we can create something nice and dramatic out of this. Okay, let's start. I did a quick sketch, just a very rough sketch, to sketch in my shaded areas, just so I know where to start. Do you know what I mean? So I guess we'll start with the sky. I'll dampen my brush. I have some linseed oil in my turpentine here, just a little bit, and I'll dampen my large stubby brush just a little. I'm going to go for a subdued kind of a blue in this. So phthalo blue, a little black, okay, and I can see there's a lot of warm tones in this, so I'm going to add a little touch of magenta into this, either magenta or crimson. I'm not quite sure which, but we can try this and see how it goes. Okay, let me just have a look at that now. Okay, that's not bad. I think we'll stick with that. I'm leaving all this big spray, okay? I'm only just focusing on the sky, just get that little bit of dark blue. I want this kind of dark at the back just to really show off all of this splash, do you know what I mean? Now let me just lighten it ever so slightly and take a touch more blue as it comes down. And actually, I think a bit of crimson might go a long way, might really help. Just kind of warm it ever so slightly. Now we'll round our spray like that, just quickly. And it's a very thin mix I'm using. You don't really need lots of thick paint for something like this. Only for the splash and all that kind of thing, okay? Now I'll just clean my brush. And I'm going to just take a little bit of white into that. Maybe a hint of crimson. I just want to kind of suggest just some little bits of clouds in the sky up there in the corner. Nothing too much, nothing too dramatic or anything like that. Just to soften it as it comes down, that's all. Okay? And let's just let the brush kind of dance around. Clean the brush again. I keep cleaning my brush just to keep it nice and clean, to avoid the colours kind of mixing too much together. And that's fine. That'll do. Okay. Nice and simple. Our next job is, now I'm going to leave all the whites of the spray, okay? So for example, you see this very big bright white area here? I'm going to leave that. I'm going to focus more on the shaded areas first, all right? I think I'll start over here. And I'm going to mix a nice little soft mauve grey for that. So I'm thinking some lamp black, some white, and maybe a hint of magenta. I think it's in a kind of a soft grey. Do you know what I mean? That kind of a grey. Now this will just be a kind of a base coat. We can add in colours to this as we need, alright? Take a bit more. And I think the trick with something like this will be just to get the movement of the waves. That will be the difficult part. I'm going to take some black. I'm going to take a hint of burnt umber and a hint of crimson. Okay, it's too much crimson. Let's take more brown, more black, and then a little white. So it's like this, it's sort of a warm grey. It's like a fawny kind of a grey. Just want to pop a little bit of that in there. So I'm kind of concentrating now on building up layers. I'll go right down over this next section just a little. Maybe a little more black. The overall kind of tone of the painting will be kind of grey, warm greys. So but I want to get some cool colours in there as well. I mean, these are cool colours up here, and there's a few cools down the front as well. So I just want to get those in. There's no particular direction with my brush. I'm just kind of more concentrated on filling in. Do you know what I mean? Getting all this filled in. And this is kind of the tricky part in painting, to get the filling in just right. Now I picked up a little bit of the blue that was there, just for down here, okay? And what I would kind of do sometimes as well is, I would just forget the lighthouse is there and paint right over the lighthouse and put it in last. I mean, we could do that as well, but let's see if we can avoid the lighthouse this time. Let's just see. So I'm just going to soften all of this in. I'm going with my brush in a very random kind of fashion, okay? Just very random, left and right, left and right, left and right, up and down at a kind of an angle, okay? I just want to kind of soften all of this together. And I suppose I'm going to start darkening this area up here. I'm going to take some black and some some magenta, black and magenta, and a hint of blue, just to give it that cool, kind of a cool colour. There we go. That's fine. Now, as I'm building up my layers, as I'm building them up, I'm going to start flicking the brush in a certain direction to give the feeling of the water kind of going up that way. So you can see, look, now you could use a fan brush for this. You could even use a palette knife and scrape it up that way. But I want to leave all my rough kind of textured work till the last minute. You know what I mean? I like to put in all my textures at the last moment. So we're starting to get a sense of the direction of the wave. Now that's a nice colour, so I'm going to pop some of that colour down in here as well. And you can see I'm kind of going up in that direction. So everything then is kind of moving towards the centre of the painting, you see. Now in behind here you can see there's a very dark, kind of a muddy, greeny, grey, blacky kind of a colour. Let's see if we can get that. I'll try some black, some burnt umber. Let me try that first. It's a kind of a muddy colour, isn't it? It's like all the seaweed and all that kind of stuff flying up into the air. There's a little bit of it over here. And I'm simply kind of just flicking my brush around in little flicks, you see, and kind of swirling it around slightly, just to allow it to kind of fizzle out and kind of disappear. Pop a little bit of that colour over here. Then it gets really dark down the bottom, doesn't it? I'm going to take some black, a little phaylo blue, and some crimson. Okay, I'm going to get that really dark colour. Maybe actually even a hint of burnt umber as well. So it's a very blacky, browny kind of a colour. That disappears, sort of flicking it upwards, you see, just kind of going around in little circles. I'm just trying to get the effect now. This may not work. I can try different kind of approaches as I go along. If I find something doesn't work very well, I can try something different. But It kind of seems to be okay for now. Just don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to try different things. Okay. Okay, I can see some of that colour down here. I'm going to pop a little bit of that dark colour in just along here. As I have it on my brush, I might as well fill in these areas. I'm going to get more of a mustardy colour in there. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, some crimson, and perhaps a hint of burnt umber. Okay, I want to get that nice, sort of a nice mustardy colour going on inside there. I think that's a bit better, isn't it? It's just to kind of show the dirty water kind of splashing upwards. Do you know what I mean? Maybe just a hint of it over here as well. There we go. Okay, we're getting there already. All right, maybe a hint of it just there. It's a good idea when painting something like this to kind of complement the painting by putting certain colours in the same areas. I think it helps. It helps bring everything together. Now, I want to just try one thing. I'm going to take some Naples yellow and a hint of black. And I'm going to pop some of that in, just here and there. And then I'm going to maybe try my fan brush. It's not perfect, but I'm just going to kind of maybe just soften it out with my fan brush, sort of kind of flick it up around the little circles. You see that? Just to kind of soften it and give it a bit of direction as well. Okay, so we have kind of the basis now of our painting done. I just want to go back now with my small stubby brush and put some real dark colour in here. It's almost pure black, isn't it? But I give it a hint of crimson, I think. I just want to pop a very dark colour just in along there, okay? And bring it across. And just kind of let that soften out here and there, ever so slightly, look. And I'm even going to take a hint of phthalo blue and put some phthalo blue down there. That will help kind of bring the shadowy area to life, if you will. Just a touch here and there. And maybe a little spot of that just over here as well. And we don't have to copy this painting exactly colour-wise. We can add little details in ourselves and add some more darks if we like. It's our painting, we can do what we like, okay? So don't try and copy something exactly. It's no fun if we're trying to copy every single detail exactly as it is. So I'm thinking now, fan brush, and we'll go up and fill in some of these lights. In fact, no, do you know what I'll do? I'll take a smaller flat actually first, and I'll use that to go up and fill in some of these bright white spots, okay? So maybe not even any thinners, just a little touch of paint on its own. Some white. We'll go up here and we'll fill in this lovely white spray up here. Let's just fill this in. And you see, what will happen then is the paint will naturally pull some of these other colours into it as you go around and touch those colours. So for instance, around here, look, just like that, and then we can sort of pick the colours up with our brush and move them around, move them upwards and all that kind of thing. You see what I mean? Creating different colours throughout. So you can see it's kind of picking them up. And you could even use this sort of dabbing motion to create that little bit of spray just where it meets. You see what I mean? Lots of spray down here behind It's just, I suppose, creating texture on the surface, that's all. Okay. We're kind of slowly now bringing it together, bringing it to life. Let's try that up here. And up on this side, I'm going to create the direction of the spray by kind of bringing it down like this, you see? And then allowing it to sort of flick downwards into that spray underneath. Let it kind of dance around and flick away up there. And I suppose it's really about just being very sort of loose with your brush. You're dabbing, you're swirling, you see? You're kind of trying to make that rough sort of feeling. That's all I'm doing, look, you see? And I will kind of soften some of these as well with the fan brush in a moment. Okay, now I went a bit further here. That's fine. You can kind of soften that out, and we could maybe change the line of this just ever so slightly as well. Flicking it upwards, giving it all a nice little flick, creating that lovely texture. Now I'm going to come down and start adding some to this. It's basically, you could really just get a fan brush and kind of stipple all of this. That would make a nice effect as well, and I still may do that, but I just want to kind of, I like the effect of a brush every now and then. Dab, 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 dab. The brush gives a lovely effect on its own as well sometimes. Okay, now let's just sit back and take a look at that. Okay, it's coming on nicely. I'm going to take a hint of magenta in the mix, just to add a bit more light to the white. And I'm going to start stippling as it comes down, look, okay? Just to create that kind of foamy texture. It's just a case of dabbing, twisting my brush around and dabbing. And I'm going to leave then kind of all the rich textured stuff until the very last minute with my palette knife. Just to really bring the waves to life, that splash. Coming down here, look, just like that. Okay. So I'm just kind of focused right now on building up the layers very slowly. So I'm going to try my fan brush and maybe soften some of them out with the fan brush, you see? And I'm just kind of doing it very loosely now as well. I'm not paying too much attention, okay? Just very, very loose. Being very loose with this. Just kind of softening them here and there ever so slightly. You see? Just being very kind of messy with the fan brush. And it's nice as well that the paint is kind of starting to slightly dry in. It's not, well, when I say dry, it's not drying. It's sort of, you know, gripping the canvas and it's setting slightly on the canvas. So it just allows me to soften colours together a little more easier, okay? Even 5 or 10 minutes on a painting makes a big difference. You know what I mean? So, how's that looking now so far? That's kind of the primary blocking in stage finished. I'm going to go next to perhaps adding more spray. Okay, let's try the fan brush for this. I'm going to take some white and I might try a touch of Naples yellow, and that will really highlight the spray. Okay, so for example, let's go up here and pop a little bit of that spray in, just kind of around the top of this. You see the way that kind of brightens the whole thing up? It really, really does. I might take a hint of magenta as well, just to warm it ever so slightly. And down here, there's a big splash of foam coming down here. You see that? And just being careful, I don't want to overdo it. I just want to create some direction with all of this. So that now is pushing the back one further back, isn't it? Let's get a little more of that paint. That's a nice colour. I like that colour. I'll try perhaps a little bit coming out behind the lighthouse as well. It's all about getting the feeling of lots and lots of water. You know what I mean? I don't have any thinners in this, by the way. It's just paint on its own, okay? Nothing else. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start getting some nice texture on this side as well. Now you can simplify this at home if you want, okay? Okay, let's go up here and get some nice suggestions of splash coming up like that. As it comes down, then I'm going to start thickening the layers down here as it comes down, okay? And you can see how the fan brush is perfect for this. It just creates that very random sort of a look. I'm going to take some magenta in this and maybe a hint of this brown, and I'm going to pop some of that in just down here. I just want to darken it ever so slightly as it comes down here, okay? Give that more of a warmer feeling to it. Okay, getting there. Let's mix a bit more. Take some more white and go up here and let's just sort of refine some of this up here. Okay, let's just make the lines just that little bit more sharp and textured. All right, and I'm going to do the same up here, and then what I'm going to do is sort of swoop it across as if the wind is catching it. Okay, just like that. You see the way it looks like the wind is sort of catching the tops of the foam. I like that. Now I'm going to start going into more of a white, just a white. I still have a little pink on my brush, a tiny amount of pink, but it's primarily just a sort of a white, okay? I want to start creating the shape of different layers of the foam. Now this one kind of comes down like this, doesn't it? It sort of separates. Let's take a hint of Naples yellow in that, and then make that nice and sharp just there. So you can see I'm just dragging a dry brush with just paint across the canvas, okay? That's all I'm doing. Now when it comes down here, I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to the colour, okay? So I'm going to just take some shadowy colour there, and I'm going to mix it in and bring it up just sort of here and there, you see, just like that. Drag some of that downwards. Okay, then I'm going to take some white, nice bright white, and I'm going to create the highlights of these coming around. Now, you don't have to make this as difficult, okay? If you have, if you have your own techniques that you like to use, please do use your techniques if you find it easier. There's so many different techniques when painting something like this. There really is. And it's all about finding the one that suits you, okay? That's what it's about. So let's take some more white. I'm going to go up here and create some more layers of splash. You see, I'm just kind of flicking the brush left and right. I can come down, I could even sort of soften some of these ones through a little bit more if I feel it might be a nicer effect. You see what I mean? Even up here, I could pop another one or two up here. Like that, okay? Now, I go down and do this one here. So I'm going to take some white and a hint of Naples yellow. I'm going to put a nice bright one cutting in front of this. And then I'll do some shadow work on this. Let's take some magenta, a hint of blue, and a hint of burnt umber, okay? That sort of warm mauvey colour. And I'm then going to just kind of soften that up. And I'm almost kind of going around the little circles with my fan brush. And this is a very old fan brush, it's not a new one. Sometimes the older brushes are the best for this kind of work. Let's take a little black in that. I'll go a little darker, just at the bottom. Okay. It's starting to kind of come to life, isn't it? It's starting. Now let's clean the fan brush for a moment, and I think I might try a little bit of work with the knife. What do you think? I think I might try just a little touch of work with the knife. I'm going to take this type of a knife here, okay? I'm going to take a little white, and I'm just simply going to add some rich highlight to some of this, and even look, one or two little dots of splash as well. And that really brings the wave to life, you see? It really does. And I could go up, let's say around here as well. You could even just do like a dabbing sort of a fashion. Dab, 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 dab. So you can kind of see how it just brings everything right out, doesn't it? A little bit here, a little bit there. Just to showcase those highlights a little bit more on the bottom. And there's no technique to this really, it's just sort of messing around with the the knife and almost just seeing what happens. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of how I would explain it. It's just sort of messing around and having real fun, and don't be too kind of uptight, and just try and let the knife kind of just dance around on the canvas and do its job. You know what I mean? So say down here, for instance, now a little touch of it there. I'm just kind of very delicately placing the knife here and there, you see? I think I'll pop a little bit of that up there. Maybe go for some scratching techniques up here as well. And it's all just really about lights against darks, okay? That's what I'm trying to do with my knife. So it's very bright sections against the darker sections, and that really brings all these layers forward, you see? Try another one down here. And I'm kind of getting the shape of the way the water is sort of turning, you see? Because waves like this and splash like this, they're very, very rough and very textured. So, you know, it's very difficult if you're going along here with a small pointy brush to try and get this looking just right. It would be quite difficult, I would imagine. I have done it in the past, but I just don't get huge amounts of enjoyment out of it, to be quite honest. So I'll show you what I mean. For instance, if I just took little touches of white and just put little dabs of white spray, just sort of breaking loose. You kind of get lost in the details, okay? And you can't kind of see the painting as a whole if you're working on tiny details like this. Do you see what I mean? So that's why using a knife or something like that, it just makes it more spontaneous and random. Okay, I'm going to do the lighthouse, and we can move on from there then. Let me find a brush. I need a brush. I'll take this nice little medium flat brush here. The lighthouse is a very rich colour, isn't it? I'm going to go with some red first, some burnt umber. I'm going to go in with these lovely warm colours first, okay? Nice reddy brown. And we'll work on it. And let's put in this lovely thick lighthouse all the way down. Okay, now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Go with my small stubby. I'm going to take some burnt umber and black and just start darkening. Start from the top and start darkening some colours up there, okay? Create some nice shadows. That's what I'm going to do. Nice shadowed areas, especially look down the back at this side. It's much, much darker here, isn't it? And just kind of softening the colours together with your brush. Now some black again, go nice and dark down here. And I really wanted to kind of stand out, you see, from the waves. Just putting some texture through it. Some black up here. And it's a dry brush, I'm just flicking tiny amounts of black through that reddy brown, just here and there. Just to create some texture, you see. That's all. Then we can go up and let's get a small pointy brush. And we can go up here and do, it's almost black, isn't it? That top section, it's almost black. So let's go like that, then it goes up. My drawing skills are not the best, I'll be quite honest. So do bear with me, okay? I apologise in advance if my drawing skills are terrible. I was never much of a drawer, to be quite honest. I'm more of a painter. I can do much more with a brush than I can with a pencil. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I've always been. Don't know why. I can draw things, you know, I can sketch things and stuff like that, but it's not really my passion. And it's very difficult to do something like that if it's not your passion. You have to really have your passion and do it. Give it your all. Okay, and then we go, give it a slight curve. I think that might help with perspective, rather than having it just straight across like it is in the photograph. Now, I think we need to go a bit further on this side. Just to try and centre it a bit. And we'll put 1 or 2 bars. Then we have this lovely piece in the middle which comes up. Very rich red on this. And you could have done this before you've done the bars as well, actually, okay? I'll leave it entirely up to you. I'm going to go up the sides. And let's go across the top and give it this lovely rich red roof. Just up on top there. Okay. Now I'm just double checking to make sure it's not kind of sideways or anything, because I'm kind of painting from the side as opposed to being right in front of it. So I'm allowing for the camera to see the painting, you see. So I'm kind of slightly off to one side when I'm painting this, which is difficult to see if your lines are kind of straight and stuff. So do bear with me. I do apologise if this is going horribly wrong. Bit of red in there. Take some of this and pop something kind of in the center to suggest the light and that kind of thing. Let's put a little suggestion of some frames, that kind of thing. Then we'll just pop something up on top, just to finish off the top section. Let's put a couple of little lines. And I'm just keeping all of this really loose, okay? I don't want to go to too much trouble with all of this. The painting is focused really primarily on all this lovely splash that we have. So I want to keep that feeling. I want to put a couple of patches of red on the sides here. Rich cadmium red. There's a bit of brown in this as well. And you can leave your brush marks, they help, okay? You see what I mean? They help give it that little bit of character, rather than having just a flat colour. A lot of people make the mistake of softening all of these things together. But in my opinion, with a lighthouse or something like this, leave your brush strokes. It just gives it some feeling. Alright, we'll take some burnt umber, and I'm going to suggest some, see the way there's little dark bands of burnt umber, dark kind of a colour popping in here and there. It just sort of gives it some curvature, I suppose. Then let's give this lighthouse a little bit of light on one side. I'm going to take some Naples yellow and I'm going to soften some Naples yellow into this browny colour, okay? Nice and gently. Look, just a couple of little flicks here and there, just to suggest there's light catching on one side. That's all. And I might give a little hint of black then on the back side here, just to go really dark against that splash, okay? So you don't have to go to too much trouble. Now let's do this lovely little cabin that we have here, a little hut. That looks like it's really taking a good battering, isn't it? Let's take some Naples yellow, little cadmium red, and a hint of burnt umber. Let me see now, cadmium red, maybe crimson, and some Naples yellow. Want to get a nice warm colour for this. Okay, that's wrong. I maybe should have got some cadmium yellow on my palette just for that. Let's try it just for that, okay? Tiny touch of cadmium yellow. I'll take some cadmium yellow with some cadmium red and some Naples yellow. And I get this lovely, almost like a rusty colour, isn't it? Okay, clean my brush, pick up some white. So we have a nice dark background then, you see. Okay. Now I may go a little bit further with that. Let's go a little bit further over. And then I'll pop that nice bright red door in just in the middle there, okay? Just like that. Now I'll take a little black and perhaps just pop a little shadow in around it. And maybe just refine. Add a little detail. So the next job I'm going to do now is just fill in this really dark blacky colour underneath here. Just take some black and let's just go right in and fill that in. Right underneath that, all the way across, and fill that in. Okay, just like that. So it's coming together, isn't it? It's slowly coming together. Now I'm going to take a knife and just add a little highlight just on the top of that blackness there, okay? It's just basically a tiny touch of blue and white. The tiniest little touch, just to separate it slightly. See, just like that. You don't have to go crazy. So we're on to this lovely splash down at the bottom here. Lovely, lovely, lovely splash. I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush, okay? My small flatter brush. I'm going to give it a good clean now because I have lots of orange in this brush. In fact, it's actually quite hard. I leave it. I'll switch to this one here. Okay, a nice soft flat brush. And I'm going to start mixing that nice mauvey kind of deep colour here that we have, okay? Some magenta, little phthalo blue, little black. And then some white. So we have this lovely sort of pinky grey up here, don't we? And I'm going to fill it in here first. And what I'm going to do is sort of dab it very gently kind of along here as it's going up into that black concrete there, okay? So you can see I'm simply just sort of dabbing. Dab, dab, dab. It's that simple. Dab, 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 okay? Do try it. And I want to add some of that colour actually over here as well. Maybe a hint more pink. Then it gets very bright from there on, doesn't it? Let's get some white. So I'm going up at an angle, you see? I'm flicking that white and just following the direction of those in, you see? Okay, let me get some white on my palette. And this is going really nicely, isn't it? It's a nice, vibrant painting with lots of movement, isn't it? And that lighthouse really just catches the eye, doesn't it? It really, really does. Let's get some white. Maybe a hint of Naples yellow. And go up here, look. And just separate that for a moment. And I fill all of this in down here with that nice bright colour. So I'm picking up hints of that grey now already on the brush, you see. Excuse me. Now, the next thing I want to do is concentrate on this area here. I'm going to take a smaller brush and I am going to take some black and a hint of burnt umber first, okay? And I just want to get a nice sort of a muddy colour, as if it's the wall continuing on over here, okay? And would you like me to zoom in for this? Will I see, can I zoom in slightly or is it okay? I really don't know what to do. Maybe just like that. How's that? Give you a better idea. So let's get some brown and a hint of black. And don't be shy with your colours, okay? Get nice, real strong colours. Okay, and it's just very, very rough. And then I'm going to leave that sort of wiggle as it comes out, okay? And disappear down into the water. You see that? I'm just giving it little wiggles. Now I'm going to do the same over here. I'm just going to pop a little few of those in, just here and there, to create that kind of foamy effect. So that foamy effect that you get when you have lots of foam on top of water. And it's basically, you know, it's just lots and lots of little wiggles, that's all. Get some magenta with some black. Add a hint of pink in here and there. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to pop some of that shadowy colour in here and there. And you can see the way the wiggles are all kind of coming down and out and dissipating outwards. Okay, you kind of see what I mean? Now you can go into a lot more detail than this, okay? I'm just kind of giving you a very quick idea. But you can get a really small, fine, pointy brush if you wish and do this. And really take your time. Now a little bit of pink I need up here. I see lovely pink in there. I'm going to push that little touch of pink in and leave it sort of soften upwards. And another little bit maybe in here around that one. So you can see I'm keeping the highlights. Okay. Now the next part is I'm going to start adding some lights in around here. So I'm going to really take a very bright pink, because it's not pure white, it's a kind of a dull white, it's a pinky white. So I'm going to go with that first, okay? And I'm simply going to, let's go over here, let's get some nice bright colours in here. And okay, you could use your fan brush again for this if you wish. That would do absolutely fine. Get some slightly brighter colours in here, just to create that very rough ocean feel just here, okay? So next, I'm going to get a fan brush and I'm going to just show off a little touch of splash on the tops of those a little bit more. Very delicately, okay? Very gently. Because there is a lot of splash around here, isn't there? Lots and lots of splash and foam and all that kind of thing. Now as it comes down, I'm going to cut across here with a nice bright colour. Naples yellow and some white. And I'm going to just sort of skim across in front of that. And even bring some of that up here as well, look. Creating a little direction. You see? So let's continue on down with this. And you can really finish this now any way you like. There's no set rule to which way you want to finish this. You could just put loads of texture in there. It's completely up to yourself. Now I want to just roughen up down here a little bit, okay? Just slightly. I want to kind of merge them together ever so slightly. Do you know what I mean? Just by pulling them down very gently, you see? Now, let me put some more inside here. And let's come down here and add some colour. Let's get burnt umber, some of that ready Naples yellow. And I'm going to pop some of that muddy colour in. So this colour now, you see, will complement the lighthouse. Do you know what I mean? It'll really help the painting. It'll kind of help your eye move around on the painting. Okay, that's kind of what I'm aiming for it to do. A little bit of a lighter colour here and there, just in there. Okay. And then we'll go really dark with some burnt umber, little red and some black, giving us a very dark colour down here. And I just simply want to put this down first, and then we'll add some colour over this, okay? So we have our sort of base colour down now, yes? So then we will just put some nice foam and stuff like that across this, over this. So let's go to our small brush, small detail brush. And how are we doing for time on this? We are good, you see, 1 hour. We have all of this done in 1 hour. Isn't that just amazing? Okay, let's just go and add some little touches of foam in between all of this. Lots of thick paint now, okay, on your brush. No thinners, just lots and lots of thick paint. And you can see the way the foam is very erratic. It's sort of lots of little squiggles. And just keep going with this, and you will see it come together eventually. Now you may not typically use this method, you know. If you have other ideas for doing this, please share them. I'd love to see them. But do go onto my Facebook page and share these tutorials if you wish. Share your efforts. I would love to see what you're doing, okay? I really would. So you can see the details in my description, up on top or down below, wherever it is, and pop over and take a look and show me how you're getting on. I'd love to see your work, I really would. Okay, you just stop now for a moment, sit back and take a look. And I think then, lastly, I'm going to get my palette knife and really go to town with my palette knife on this. Because the palette knife is probably the best tool you can use for creating rough seas and all that kind of thing. It really is. Okay, let's try it. Now we have 2 different palette knives. Okay, I think I'll try this for now. Let's try this first and give it a good clean. Let's just go into some white and sort of drag some white across over your canvas here and there. So that's giving you some nice texture as well, isn't it? Let's go across here, look. And you could put lots and lots of this on if you wish, okay? You could keep going, adding loads of paint with your palette knife. There's nothing whatsoever stopping you. Just be careful not to overdo it, you know what I mean? Because it can get very quickly out of control. Now it's still May. I still could ruin it. There's every chance I could ruin it because all these tutorials are live. There's no editing done here. So there's every chance now that I could just make an absolute mess of this painting. I think the trick is knowing when to stop, isn't it? Go up here and maybe just add one or two nice bright spots over there, like that. So I think I'm going to just add a little seagull, perhaps up here. No, which side? Should we go with the wave side? Maybe not. Let's put one here. Get some more paint on that because that's a little thick now, isn't it? And put a little darker colour underneath the wings. And there we are, my friends. I will call this done. I may still kind of tip away just a little bit. Add some little bits of foam here and there. I may, there's always, you know, you'll always kind of stand back and look and say, well, maybe it needs more there, or maybe it needs more here. There's always that risk. But I really don't want to spoil this. I really don't. I might take some a little bit more white actually. And there's one little spot there I just want to add some texture to it. So let's get some white. Now, I have some red on my palette knife, be careful with that. I might just add a little more texture to this here, okay? Maybe a little more here as well. Okay. I think we should just maybe leave it because we could end up just spoiling the entire thing, couldn't we? I know you're probably yelling at the screen right now saying, okay, stop. That's enough. And you're absolutely right. So my friends, I'll leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Let me just fix this camera here. And zoom back again. And there we are. I'll go in now nice and close for you to look. There we go. Tom, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for your suggestion. It was so much fun. It really was. Let me just turn the camera here now slightly. I need to really get some proper, decent stands for my equipment here because it's just very poor quality. Okay, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. It's been really, really fun. I'll stick a frame on that. I think that would be lovely. So until then, my friends, happy painting. I'll see you again next week. Pop over to Patreon, take a look at what's there. I'm very busy with lots of stuff on there as well. But thank you so much for your support anyway. Okay, happy painting. I'll see you very, very soon. Take care and God bless.